up, guys? Crazy Tales, one back for another WWE review, and today I'm going to be reviewing the WWE Countdown episode, Top 10 Greatest General Managers of All Time. So like today's episode, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and else my channel. But before I actually do that, I just wanted to tell you what the WWE Countdown show is. The WWE Countdown show is an exclusive show to WWE Network, which is only $9.99 a month. And for April, you know, it is the you get the free network for the month of April, including Extreme Rules, but that's besides the point. The Countdown is an exclusive show to the network. Basically, count down anything. It's in top 10. Could range from top 10 managers, what I'm doing right now, top 10 superstars. I think they yet to do yet. Top 10 or Continental Champions. You get the idea. This is basically just the top 10. There's only one time they did the top 5 for its Survivor Series special, but that's besides the point. Basically, just countdown. So I really like the series. They go through mostly everything so far. My favorite was Hell in a Cell one, which I'm going to do a review on eventually soon whenever I get the time to do it. Right now, it's the top 10 general managers of all time. Just like the title said, it counts down top 10 general managers that they had in WWE. Only WWE, not apparently not for WCW or ECW, which they decided not to do. So I'll go through the list of what happened, and I'll tell you my opinion on them. For number 10, they picked John Laurinaitis, which I thought he should have been a little bit higher. I always liked him. I know he was annoying. That was his whole character, but I always liked him. I feel as though he should have been a little bit higher. Number 10, especially for another guy. Another general manager I'm about to announce soon. Well, through the list. They basically talk about him, how he became the general manager, because remember when people walked out on Triple H and he was the only superstar left in John Cena, Sheamus, and CM Punk. He was 3 superstars. Only people stand by his side afterwards. Vince McMahon fired him, relieved him of his general manager duty. He was still the COO. That's how John Laurinaitis became president. Let's see anything else. Talk about oh yeah, the scooter. You know how they always had a scooter after John Cena beat him. He didn't beat him after the Over Limit match with John Cena. He was badly injured, so he always had the scooter. And how he was fired after the No Way Out match against John Cena. Basically, that's why he was number 10. I always liked him. I thought he should have been a little bit higher on the list. Number 9, William Regal. William Regal is the best. He could be the wrestler or the GM. He was the best. The one thing he said, which I always liked, he was born to be a villain. That's one of the things that I liked about William Regal. He always stayed a villain. His character was always a bad guy. Never got cheered. Never. He was always a bad guy. Except for the time with Eugene, but that's a different story. He was always a bad guy. He stayed true to his character. Like Chris Jericho. Even though people cheer him, he is always meant to be a bad guy, in my opinion. Looks like how Sheamus, he should be considered a bad guy. He should have never been a good guy, in my opinion. He should have never been a face. I don't think it killed his character. In my opinion, it's only few people can switch from back and forth, from being heel, face. They can do that. Triple H can do that. Undertaker can do that. John Cena can do that. Stone Cold can do that. The Rock can do that. Some people that shouldn't do it, like Chris Jericho, even though it doesn't matter, I always consider him a heel no matter what, but I still cheer him anyway. I always consider him a heel, but that's besides the point. William Regal, we talk about that. Basically how he was a really good GM. He always had the authority, always said he's good, will always triumph overall. He was considered a good GM. He was number 9. Number 8 on the list was Stephanie McMahon, which I was like, okay, I thought, yeah, that's a good. I guess that would be a good place for her. Stephanie McMahon. It's about how she was the first GM of Smackdown, and her rivalry between her and Eric Bischoff, making sure who had the best superstars. Can remember, because Stephanie McMahon brought Lesnar exclusive to Smackdown, which I'll talk about later on his part. But basically, she also brought the Smackdown tag team titles, as well as the Cruiserweight title, as well as the United States title. So she did a lot in her run as GM. She was number 8. Number 7 was the anonymous GM. Now, he should have been number 10. There was nothing good about him. He did nothing worth remembering at all. John Laurinaitis should have been number 9. Ron Raw GM should have been number 10. They would just talk about how Cole and May. Well, I mean, the only thing that got out of him was made Cole the guy who he is now. Even though everybody hates him, they brought more of his character out. Since he's always been a commentator, we able to develop more of his character, Michael Cole. So that was the only redeeming fact, because otherwise we found out it was Hornswoggle, which that was a big letdown, like Booker T said. That was that. Number 6 was Paul Heyman. he should have been a little bit higher in my opinion. Paul Heyman, he was a good GM for SmackDown. Sometimes people forget that he was actually GM. He said the thing, he always played favoritism, of course, because Brock Lesnar. And he was a good GM. That's all you have to say. He's Paul Heyman. I don't have to. If you don't know Paul Heyman by now, I really don't have to say much about him. His name, the name speaks for himself. Number 6 should have been a little higher in my opinion. I didn't make the list. Paul Heyman, number 6. That was a good choice. Number 5 on the list was Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, remember, if you don't remember Stone Cold, his last match with The Rock, which basically his retirement match was WrestleMania 19. Afterwards, they decided to still do more of his character, and they decided to make him the commissioner. He was a good commissioner. They talk about how him and Eric Bischoff had to get together. They always had to work something out. And that moment when Stone Cold run the buggy, that's when he basically introduced the buggy for the most part. And that one time he tried to run over Vince McMahon, he ran on top of the limo with it. That was a good scene. If people forget, Stone Cold's last match with The Rock was WrestleMania 19, and he was supposed to retire because he had neck problems. He was beat up, but they still decided to keep him for a little bit longer, which I did enjoy for that. Number 4 was Teddy Long. Teddy Long, I mean, for people who love him or hate him, I really have no opinion on him. He should have been a little bit lower on the list, in my opinion. He should have been on the list, yes, but it should have been a little bit more lower, in my opinion. He's most known for being the longest running GM on Smackdown. Like, literally. I remember he started, like, in 2004. And he stayed all the way, even though he got fired at some point. He had the longest run as GM of all time. I think he stayed up until 2009. 2008, 9, or 10. 10 when he stopped his first run as GM. But he stayed for a very, very long time. And also, we all know him for the guy who does tag team matches. The tag team matches, tag team matches, tag team matches. That's all he ever did was tag team matches. People remember him from that. They took a break from the countdown to talk about the president Jack Tunney, which, again, I wasn't born in that era, but I do recall hearing about him, how he never did anything, and how there was really no authority when he was there, even though he was the actual president. So he was probably the worst GM of all time. Even though he wasn't on the list, they considered him the worst GM of all time. In my opinion, that should be a Miles Raw GM, but apparently there was someone even worse before even when I was born. Number 3, Eric Bischoff. Now, this is the only one I say this is a travesty. He should have been number 1. Eric Bischoff, in my opinion. I'm not taking away the guy who won number 1, which I will talk about later, but Eric Bischoff should have been number 1. He's done, so I don't even have to look at my notes for this. He's done so much. He reintroduced the World Heavyweight title. Because when Vince McMahon took Brock Lesnar, made him exclusive to Smackdown. Again, this was the Ruthless Aggression era where Raw and Smackdown were separated. It was considered 2 separate brands, 2 separate companies. You get the idea. They had exclusive pay-per-views and whatnot. Eric Bischoff brought back the World Heavyweight title, and he gave it to Triple H, making the first World Heavyweight champion for the new era WWE. And if it wasn't for him, there would be no World Heavyweight title. There would be no Elimination Chamber. The Elimination Chamber itself had its own pay-per-view. He introduced the Elimination Chamber in 2002 in Survivor Series. Ever since then, came multiple matches, and even had its own pay-per-view at one point between 2010 and 2014. It ended sadly because I guess thanks to the new venues and the arenas, they can't hold Elimination Chamber, which is sad. I always liked the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. It was always amazing. 2011 was always be my favorite Elimination Chamber pay-per-view when Edge and John Cena won. Just because the match itself were amazing in my opinion. It also had a great theme song. Eric Bischoff did a lot. I'm surprised he wasn't number 1. And he was like the best GM for Raw, in my opinion, the best GM of all time. Number 2, Vicky Guerrero. Now, I don't know if how it should have been was the guy who won number 1 as number 3, Vicky Guerrero number 2, and then Eric Bischoff number 1. Vicky Guerrero, she was good. She was running SmackDown for the most part. She was the one who introduced, I believe, the Divas title, I think. She was the one who introduced the Divas title, which is now the one we use right now. Remember, there also used to be, because, again, the Ruthless Aggression era, there was, they didn't talk about this countdown. I'm just telling you this in general, based off the top of my head. It was still the Ruthless Aggression era. Raw had the women's title. They always had a women's title. And SmackDown had no Divas title. They made the Divas Championship. So women's and Divas title. Eventually they got unified and decided to keep the Divas title. Which to this day I still believe they should have just kept the women's title. But hey, they called the Divas, instead of calling them women, they decided to call them Divas from now on. So it's just okay. But besides that, she did good. In my opinion, she made Dolph the guy who he is now. She gave Dolph more exposure. So if it wasn't for her, Dolph Ziggler would not be in the position he's in right now. He became World Heavyweight Champion under her. Everybody who was with her, they became champions, so you can't fault them for that. And they also talk about how her and AJ Lee went at it, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. Number 1 was Mick Foley. Now, I don't take any away from Mick Foley. I just feel as though everybody else should have been number 1. He was a great commissioner when he was there in the Attitude Era. He was the one who was behind the 6-man Hell in a Cell match with The Rock, Triple H, Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, Undertaker, and Rikishi. He was the one who did that. He also was one in mind between the Tables, Ladders, and Chairs match, which they made eventually as the best match of probably of all time at WrestleMania 17 as Spirit Jeff Hardy, as well as got its own pay-per-view to this day. It started in 2010, TLC pay-per-view, and still continuing to this day. So Mick Foley did a lot. He made a huge impact, and then everybody remembers his office, how he traveled around. He was always fair. Everybody liked him. So I understand why he was number 1. I just feel as though Eric Bischoff should have been number 1 in my opinion. Anyway, this was my review of the Countdown episode of WWE Network Greatest General Manager of All Time. If you liked my review, go hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And look out for more WWE reviews. Thanks to WWE Network, which is only $9.99. Thank you for watching. This is Crazy Tales 1 signing off. Catch you guys later, and see ya.